Greetings and welcome to the home slice. This is a standard intro. If you already know what's up with my 40mm Manila Rope testing, the ANDE rope test, then you can skip to this time listed on screen. This is where the actual edge test begins. If you haven't been here before, then you've caught me in the middle of a testing series where I'm taking Victorinox knives because they're simple steel that's mainly just steel. There's not a bunch of extra alloys and carbide things going on in them. And I'm testing what different sharpening stones do to them. I'm testing fine, medium, and coarse stones individually. Then I'm taking the best from those and I'm making what's called a dual grit edge. If you're new to the channel, a dual grit edge is where you sharpen one side coarse or medium and the other side of the edge you sharpen fine. It has some really interesting characteristics. Usually it creates an aggressive edge that lasts longer than it normally would with either coarse or fine, with some exceptions, which we're testing to find out. Anyway, my test consists of, I've got a little goofy rig that I slice through a 1 centimeter thick sisal rope, and it's on a 45-degree wedge. It's intended to transfer that force down, and then I measure how many kilograms of pressure it took to slice through the rope while holding the rope vertical. That's intended to take forward motion and quantify how much pressure it took to slice through. This gives you some rough idea of edge aggression. The next test is to cut through a 40mm thick Manila rope, and then I test on a best machine tester to test how keen and nice the edge stayed. I do that until it's over 400 grams on the best tester, checking with microscope and checking to see when it loses shaving capability in between tests. After 3, I will hammer the edge into a pine piano leg, and that's just to see if any of the edges break on impact. There are certain sharpening methods I've found that create an edge that's not as robust to impact tasks, and I want to kind of weed those out because for a working edge, I want it to be reasonably durable. Anyway, that's what we're testing for today. In just a second, we'll skip right over to the test footage, and I will let you know what the finishing stone that we're actually testing was. Hey y'all, we're back with one of my oldest stones in the collection, the EZE Lap 600 Grit Diamond plate. This thing is, I didn't know whether to rate it coarse or medium. I ended up going with coarse, and it indeed returns a fairly coarse looking number to the best test. That's not putting me off because we're out to discover things that work well for dual grit edges. And indeed we see that the initial edge is very, very aggressive, not quite on the level with the Spyderco 800 grit CBN stone, but returning a good result nonetheless. Now, as is characteristic of these EZE Lap plates, I don't know if mine are just worn down, but they tend to look finer than the CBN plates that I recently got from Spyderco. And concerningly, they often tend to have a little bit brighter sort of illumination out at the tip, which always makes me concerned that perhaps the tip has been bent somewhat during the sharpening process, even though I tried to deburr and be gentle. At pass 1, we're up to 364 grams, which is a pretty average reading in the overall testing, but we are no longer shaving, and the 600 grit stone for some reason became rather laborious on the second cut through the rope, lost its aggression, and jumped up above the 400 mark. So it's onward to the aggression test to see if we can confirm whether or not we are seeing a measurable loss in aggression on this 1 centimeter thick sisal rope. I've frozen it here at the highest reading, which was a 6.1. That's not terrible overall, but if you calculate it out, that's 3.3 kilos of aggression loss, and a little bit more, I would say, dramatic felt aggression loss when cutting through the actual Manila rope. Looking at the edge here, it looks mostly okay, but it does look like it has lost any of that texture that was there. It's a little bit more rounded over than some of the coarse edges that we've seen. Overall, I'm open to experimentation, and if you guys have any ideas on how I could optimize this, I'd be willing to use it. but I'm not super interested at this moment from this test in using it as a coarse side of a dual grit edge. If you want to see my last test, it's on screen now. Otherwise, I'll say peace out from the home slice. Take care, guys. Bye.